really did not want anything to happen to the humans. And I expected to going into this movie, I expected to be sitting there wanting Godzilla to F these people up. Like, I felt like, oh, I'm about to go see Godzilla F niggas up. I didn't want him to F nobody up, y'all. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel, King Nikki TV. I am here with a review of the new movie Godzilla Minus One, which I just saw on December 31st. I got this movie in right at the cutoff of the year so that it could make it into my ranking of my 2023 movies. Of course, you can watch new movies in the new year, but I don't know. I'm kind of a stickler about watching movies in that year when I do my ranking. So this just made it. I am literally in the middle of my big move from Florida to Tennessee. I am knee deep in stress and being overwhelmed, but I'm here with the review. Now, the new Godzilla Minus One is a post-war Japan at its lowest point when a new crisis emerges in the form of a giant monster baptized in the horrific power of the atomic bomb. We get Godzilla. Now, I'm never really been a fan of Godzilla, and when I went to see this, I was kind of thinking like, why have I not been a fan of Godzilla? Like, I love a creature feature, so where the hell have I been? But yeah, Godzilla is one of those movies that has just not been on my radar. I watched the one in the 90s with Matthew Broderick, and I did eventually watch the one recently with the girl from Stranger Things. I literally cannot even remember that movie. I just know I had a girl in it from Stranger Things. I can't tell you if I liked it, if I didn't. I can't remember the movie. However, we are here with Godzilla Minus One. And the reason I was so gung-ho about watching this movie before I did my ranking is because everybody and their mama have been screaming from the mountaintops that Godzilla Minus One is the best movie of 2023. So I'm just like, okay, let me go check this out. Now, some praises I will give the movie is the special effects. The special effects look so good. And when I read the budget for this film, I was like, hold on, what the hell? Because we don't see other films with a higher budget and worse CGI. So I don't know what the hell happened. But I will be honest and say, even though the effects really did look very good, I wasn't the biggest fan of the Godzilla actual design. I personally hated the spikes. But I will say I did really love how detailed the creature design was. Godzilla, close-up shots we got. Godzilla face looked genuinely creepy. When Godzilla, there's a scene where Godzilla is stalking this boat in the ocean, and we see his eyes, the way his eyes were piercing. You couldn't tell me they weren't really filming a Godzilla monster. That ish looked so good. Just his eyes and movements throughout the water felt genuinely unnerving. Just chef kiss. I don't know how filmmakers do it, but the Godzilla eyes really looked real. And they were my favorite, of the whole, design. Godzilla was feeling like Terminator. When Reese says in Terminator, he won't eat, he won't sleep, he won't stop until he rips her fucking heart out. That's what Godzilla was giving me. But some more effects and stuff we got with the Godzilla design that I like is Godzilla was shooting lasers. Was Godzilla shooting lasers in the 90s movie with Matthew Broderick? I don't remember lasers. I love that. And I had so many moments. Well, I don't know about so many moments, but I had moments in a movie where I was genuinely just in awe and wait, what the? And one of those what the moments, baby, Godzilla can regenerate himself when he hurt. I also don't remember that from the 90s Godzilla. I was like, wait, what? That kind of blew me away. It was very unexpected for me. And I am a bit confused, though. Why Godzilla got these teeny little T-Rex arms? Godzilla looks so funny. He is very bottom heavy. But he got these little teeny weeny arms. That's why the hell Godzilla's so mad, child. He can't reach nothing with his arms. But something else in the positive that I really love with this movie is they had this score. It was this like looming, like doom is coming type of score. It felt like Godzilla's theme music that they played. When I tell y'all, I was literally in that theater like blown the hell away. It sounded like the greatest, most iconic score of all time. And I'm not familiar with the Godzilla movies. I don't know if that is like, you know, like the Michael Myers music. I don't know if this is like classic Godzilla music, but it was my first time ever hearing it. And I thought it was so good, so amazing, set such a good tone, like very on point. Shout out to the filmmaker. He wrote this movie, he directed the movie, and he did the special effects. And the American filmmakers can learn a little something. The Godzilla action sequences were completely phenomenal. So well done, so well executed, so well shot. I want just a little film of all the action sequences, because that was my favorite part. Now, all of the character development and stories, honestly, for me, I wasn't completely enthralled. Like I said, I went into this movie because everybody kept saying it's the greatest movie of the year. And I gotta be honest, the first like 45 minutes, I was a little bored. I gotta be honest. I found myself sitting there like, okay, what the hell is Godzilla? Like, where's the monster? I thought I was here for a monster movie, not a melodrama. For me, the movie started off a bit too melodramatic. Well, not even the movie started off, because the movie starts off, we're following this failed kamikaze pilot. He goes to this island with these mechanics, and we get a Godzilla attack. But then after that, it's just a whole bunch of melodrama. And I was just like, okay, baby, where's Godzilla? Like, I gotta be honest. But in defense of the movie, I'm just not a fan of the drama genre. Like, it just felt very soap opera for me. And I felt like I was just thrust into this melodrama when I thought I was coming to see like action creature feature. So that could also be me. Y'all know I don't watch previews. So I just thought I was going to see like Godzilla, like, you know, fighting and beating stuff up, and we was going to get some action. But kudos to the writers though and the actors, because as much as I was sitting there like, oh, I'm bored, where's the monster? I ended up genuinely caring for these motherfucking characters, and it caught me off guard, because I was one thing, let me tell you. Now, I don't know about the Japanese. I watch a lot of Korean movies and series. I want to say this is my first Japanese movie. Yeah, this is my first Japanese movie. I watch a lot of Korean. And Koreans is good for some motherfucking melodrama. So they are good for some dramatics. They are good for making you cry. They are good for some over-the-top, emotional ass melodrama, okay? And it looked like the Japanese is too. But kudos to them though. Because baby, when I tell you, the first half, mixed bag for me. I'm so sorry, but it was. And that's just my personal taste. I honestly was pretty bored. But kudos to them, because they knew what they was doing. We have this whole setup where the kamikaze pilot comes back to his town. And one thing that also really irked me with the storyline with the humans is, I don't know if there's a cultural difference, but the whole shame, because he didn't kill himself as the kamikaze pilot, I was like, wait, what? He goes back. Okay, first of all, there's shame and also survivor's guilt, which I understood the survivor's guilt more than the shame about not killing himself as the kamikaze pilot. When he goes to get his plane that don't need to get fixed, because he just don't want to, you know, do his duty, we have Godzilla who shows up. Godzilla don't show up and attack. Godzilla kind of just lurking and hanging out on the island. All the mechanics duck down. They go, these are our mechanics. So they go tell him, you need to go to your plane. You got the little, you know, fighter pilot stuff going on. Go to your plane, shoot Godzilla. He goes to his plane, but he's able to go over there. I think he's kind of like pushed over to the plane, but he gets kind of shook. He freezes. He doesn't actually use the gun. And as the mechanics are ducked down, one of the people are like, don't shoot no guns, but they get scared, shook, they shoot their guns, and Godzilla kills everybody except one guy ends up getting hurt, but he survives. And I was so confused why the person who survived was so mad at the kamikaze pilot, and also why he was so guilt-ridden. I understand the survivor's remorse, the survivor's guilt part of it, but the whole, like, he felt responsible. Baby, his gun wasn't gonna do nothing to Godzilla. First of all, the people was kind of dumb for shooting off their guns at Godzilla, which they ain't deserve to die. They were scared. But I'm sitting here like, the thing that irked me was, if the kamikaze pilot would have gotten his plane and shot at Godzilla, the only thing that would have happened is everybody would have died. Like, literally, I could see if what you should have, or what you could have done, would have saved their lives. Like, if something would have made a difference. So that whole thread throughout the movie irked me, because nothing he could have done would have made a difference. All those mechanics would have still died. Whether he shot the gun or whatever on the plane or not, they would have still died. So honestly, that kind of irked me. And then the kamikaze guilt irked me as well. But like I said, I don't know if that could be like a cultural difference type of thing. Maybe for Japanese, that was very honorable. But I'm just like, baby, if I would have died, would that have changed anything? He gets back to his village or whatever, his town, and one of his neighbors is upset because her kids died. So you mean to tell me if I would have crashed my plane and died, your kids would have been alive? Like, I don't know. It was irking me, because I could see being upset if my actions could have made a difference. So I just feel like that kind of irked me, because I felt like it was unnecessary. Not even his internal turmoil, but from the outside people. Like, nothing could have made it. Baby, y'all lost. Like, and that one pilot dying wouldn't have changed nothing, because all the other kamikaze pilots died, and your kid's still dead, and the town still, decimated. So what would this one pilot have changed? So, but kudos to the writers. Because even though I'm sitting through all this, and in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is irking me, and why are they mad at him, and this is boring. He ends up meeting a woman who was taking care of this baby, and they all live together as this makeshift family. And when Godzilla shows up to attack the city, I found myself clutching my breath. Like, I actually cared about this lady. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want nothing to happen to her. So as much as I was complaining, the writers knew what they was doing, because the whole buildup and of Godzilla, but also us sitting through the characters, it really gave a heart to this movie that I appreciated. But the execution, I gotta be honest, I didn't like the first 40. I guess I won't say I didn't like the first 45 minutes. I was bored. But kudos to them for putting a real heart. Like, this wasn't just a brainless, popcorn fun, creature action movie, which I thought it would be. So maybe rewatching it, would go in with a different mind, and I could have more of appreciation. But I feel like I do have an appreciation, because I gave the writers their kudos, because I was crying in this movie. I cared about the motherfucking characters. All the characters I genuinely cared about. And I was sitting in that movie theater boohoo crying. But the Japanese soap opera melodrama, that ain't my ministry. It just wasn't for me. Now, once we get about 45 minutes into the movie, which I'm just going off my internal clock. I mean, I'm in the theater. I don't know how, like, the runtime once we got to this point, but it felt like we was about 45 minutes in. And that's when we got our first Godzilla showdown. Now, from that moment through to the very end of the movie, for me, was 5 stars. Like, great, phenomenal. Now, that mark of the first Godzilla showdown to the end of the movie, now that was worth all the hype people have been giving the movie. Now, the kamikaze pilot, we're trying to rebuild our town. We're trying to rebuild our lives. He gets this job that's really dangerous, but it pays really well, where he goes on this fishing boat to pull mines out of the ocean. And I don't know if I'm just dense, but I was very confused how you have mines in the ocean. Like, obviously, I've seen movies and you step in a minefield and you blow up. But I'm like, how the hell you step on a mine in the ocean? Like, if a ship is cruising on top of the water, ain't the mine supposed to be on the ground in the ocean? I don't know. I don't understand it. I'm dense. But anyway, we fishing the mines out of the ocean. I cared about every single character on this little boat. I really did not want anything to happen to the humans. And I expected to going into this movie, I expected to be sitting there wanting Godzilla to F these people up. Like, I felt like, oh, I'm about to go see Godzilla F niggas up. I didn't want him to F nobody up, y'all. But y'all, the melodrama of this movie. Oh my God. shout out to the lead character who played the kamikaze pilot. We have this moment that was so unbelievable. It was a lot of stuff in this movie that felt a little contrived, I'm gonna be honest. But it didn't ruin my enjoyment of the movie, but it was contrived. We find out that Godzilla, okay, so Godzilla comes to attack the town, and the kamikaze pilot goes to look for the girl. She's on a train going to work. Godzilla snatches up the train. Please tell me how the kamikaze pilot is able to find this lady. First of all, you got a sea of people running. She's on the train. So I'm like, she headed one place. Godzilla yoke up the train. She ended up somewhere. It made no sense, and it was so illogical that he was able to find this girl. But whatever the hell. But she ends up pushing him out of the way, and so he could be saved. And she gets decimated. Honestly, I think, miracles happen. She could have survived. That's not the most contrived and unbelievable part of the movie, is that she survived. But we end up thinking she's dead. And at the very last minute, we find out she's alive, right? So at the very tail end of the movie, the kamikaze guy goes to the hospital to see her. And when he was crying, y'all, I sat in that theater and I burst out laughing. And I'm like, everybody in the theater probably thought I was a sociopath, because I don't think that was a laughing moment. But it was the way he was crying. So melodramatic. I'm gonna give it to them Asians though. They can bring the melodrama, okay? And like, I was laughing, but kudos to it. Wasn't, I don't want to say I was laughing and it comes off bad. Like, I'm praising this young man. It's just, I feel like there is just such, from a person that watches a lot of Korean movies and now watching this Japanese movie and these performances, I feel like there's just a difference. I think there's just like a cheesiness, for lack of a better word, because I don't want to mean cheesiness in like a negative or bad way, but I think there's just a cheesiness and over the top ass acting in a melodrama in Asian cinema. Like, they really ham up their performances. And I feel like it's very different from when we watch American cinema and those actors. And honestly, with something of such a serious tone, with this Godzilla -1, them hamming up the performances and the melodrama, it did come off as comical for me. But kudos to that young man, okay? Because he was crying like his mama died. Like, ooh, like the way he was, y'all, I can't mimic it, but he was just, the way he was crying was killing me. Look, it's been like 2 weeks since I saw this movie. If it was fresh in my head, I could mimic his cry. But that cry took me the hell out. Now, something else that kind of didn't make any sense for me was the government didn't want the public to know about Godzilla. But Godzilla attacked the whole damn town. And also the people on that island, when I was talking about the attack at the top of the movie with the mechanics, they know Godzilla. They named Godzilla. So it ain't like this is a big secret. So I thought that was weird. But basically, the government won't do nothing. Okay, so this ain't make no sense for me. Regular citizens get together in order to protect their city from Godzilla. So as the government, my thinking is, I want to keep Godzilla a secret, so I'm just let the nigga live and destroy the town and hope nobody notices. Like, that was so confusing for me. You don't want nobody to know about Godzilla, so your plan and course of action is to do nothing about Godzilla while the nigga tear up the whole town? I didn't get it. Am I dense? That didn't make no sense for me. Now, the way they try to make this make sense is, remember, this is post-war, and they try to say that, oh, well, if the government does anything that looks like an act of aggression, it'll mess up like Russian, but that didn't make no sense. America, bruh. Russia, we got a dinosaur attacking us. That's why we moving, okay? Like, why is it hard to, like, I don't know, I don't know. That's how they try to explain it. Like, oh, if we, do anything that's going to look like an act of aggression, it's going to mess up, the American and the Russian. Like, but that didn't make no sense to me. Just tell them we ain't focused on y'all. We got a dinosaur. Okay, if you don't believe us, come look. Like, it just ain't make no sense for me. It ain't make no sense for me. But again, not one of those things that like ruins the enjoyment of the movie. Like, whatever. It honestly wasn't the biggest deal. So we end up with all of these citizens coming together, and we make up this plan that don't make no damn sense. And I thought it was very realistic when they're like, we finna risk our lives, and some folk like walk out. I don't blame you. It is not that easy to just traipse off to death. So I thought that was a very realistic part. I feel like if everybody would just stay in there like, oh yeah, we finna go fight Godzilla with this shim sham ass plan, that would have felt very unrealistic. But the fact that some folks walked out like, yo, I got a family. We already went to war. We barely survived the first war. I ain't about to go to war with Godzilla. That made a lot of sense to me, because I might have walked about that mug. Because baby, y'all playing Godzilla. Godzilla was wrecking shop. Okay, so we end up having a kamikaze pilot who ends up being like, okay, so I don't even know if I can describe this shim sham plan. It made no logical sense, but let me try and we'll get to that, because I don't even know if I can really describe it. But anyway, the kamikaze pilot needs to get like a fighter jet, because he's going to lure Godzilla to this certain spot, right? And instead of just getting any mechanic, he has to get the mechanic that survived that first attack, right? And that mechanic saw him later and like threw these pictures at him, and I think it was like personal photos that the mechanics had of their families. So he's like looking at the families that lost their loved one. He was always looking at these pictures. Now, the lead guy from the fishing boat that we find out is like a somebody who makes this plan. He tell us we got like 8 or 10 days, right? First of all, how the hell you know that? Like, how you know Godzilla not finna pop up in this mud right now? I don't know how we knew we had 8, 10 days, whatever the hell. But anyway, the kamikaze pilot go try and track down this mechanic. He's having a hard time tracking him down. He mails a bunch of letters, I guess, to a bunch of different places, trying to bait the guy to come find him. Now, baby, how long did it take letters to get mailed back in 1945? Because we got 8 or 10 days. This felt like something that should have took a few months. But we're supposed to believe that days passed. And not only, so we had time for the letters to actually get mailed, get delivered, the mechanic to open every single letter, read them, then track down the kamikaze pilot, then like travel to what? Okay, whatever the hell. I told y'all a lot kind of felt contrived. I don't know how we knew the ETA of Godzilla. Like, that stuff ain't make no sense. Now, oh, I forgot to say, when it comes to the melodrama, the little girl that was a part of this makeshift family was literally the cutest little girl ever in the history of the world. And she has a scene where she has to cry, because remember, we think that her like surrogate mother is dead. That cry was, how the hell they got the little girl to cry like that? That cry was so good, and that cry was so cute. I forgot to mention that when I was talking about the performance and the melodrama and hamming it up. That little girl, she gonna be somebody. Or she could be like the little girl that played Newt in Aliens and become a school teacher because her parents wanted her to act and she don't want to act. Like, I don't know. But that little girl, if she wants to act when she grows up, she gonna have it in the bag. Now, something else I didn't understand. We're trying to make this plan. We're figuring stuff out, etc., etc. But one way we know that Godzilla is around is because of some dead fish that pop up. Did I miss dialogue? Why was fish dying? Was it the radiation off of Godzilla? I wasn't very clear on that. But calling this movie the best of the year, you know what? People love melodrama. I've seen a lot of people say that, like, if there was no Godzilla, this would be a great movie. I cannot agree with that. If there was no Godzilla, this movie would suck for me, objectively. Just not my taste. I don't want to just sit through the melodrama. The melodrama, the melodramatics, the suicide pilot redemption arc. 2/3 of the movie felt like a Japanese soap opera. I gotta be honest. So, yeah, I can't really hold up the best of the year flag, but objectively, I completely understand why people felt that way. Amazingly well-made movie from top to bottom, 100%. Y'all the same people that like that show This Is Us. Like, y'all like to cry. Y'all like the drama, the melodrama. So I completely get why people were very enthralled with this. And like I said, I don't even remember that last one I said I watched with Godzilla. Like, at all. I feel like I will definitely remember this movie. I'm glad that they gave us such a character study and gave the movie such a heart instead of just a brainless, action creature thing. But yeah. Kudos to them for that. Now, I can appreciate that Godzilla Minus One is more than just a creature feature. I can appreciate that they explored different themes, survivors guilt, how unreliable the motherfucking governments are. The whole found family that we create, rebuilding after devastation. Cause baby, they was in a shack and then they turned that shack into something, okay? Also, I'm not one who likes period pieces, but I thought this was really well done. The post-war Japan that we got to see, some of the political undertones to the story. I will say some of the political undertones felt a bit shallow for me. I completely get not wanting to go very political with the movie, but there was a line of dialogue where one character says about how carelessly Japan has treated like human life with the war. But it feels a bit shallow because it's kind of like we throw in certain themes, but we don't really explore it or delve into it. So, yeah. Now we get to this whole plan of taking Godzilla down. And let me explain it the best way I can. So basically, we're going to take these ships and we're going to wrap something around Godzilla and we're going to put like helium or something, nitrogen or something. And you know how like when people go deep sea diving, like in 47 meters below, you can't just rise and stuff like that because of pressure. So we're going to put Godzilla in the water and then we're going to pull him up and then the pressure going to mess with him. And if that don't work, we going to do some other stuff. I can't remember. Y'all, I saw this movie a few weeks ago. I'm sorry. We gonna do something. But the plan really ain't make no sense. And it also didn't make any sense that we kind of knew like the ETA of Godzilla and where he was supposed to be. So I just felt like Godzilla could be anywhere doing anything. He walked through the damn city and snatched up the train. So whatever the hell. Now, the kamikaze pilot is supposed to just fly around and move Godzilla to a certain spot, but he got a different plan in mind. His plan is to drive the plane into Godzilla's mouth and blow up and kill Godzilla, because I think he said something about the mouth being like a weak spot or something. Now, they do a good job for me personally as somebody that's always able to call where a movie is going to go, which isn't a knock to a lot of movies. When you watch a lot of movies, a lot of times you can just foreshadow how a story will move. Now, we knew that we had this ejection seat or whatever, but I was trying to prepare myself. Because, like I said, I watch a lot of Korean movies and shows, and they never gonna give you a happy ending. Something devastating and depressive and sad always gonna happen. So at this point, we think the lady dead. We find out she not, but I'm in the theater trying to prepare myself. Like, okay, the Koreans always give us something real sad and depressive. I don't know if the Japanese gonna do the same, but I was trying to prepare myself. So yes. When we get to this big scene at the end and we're having this fight with Godzilla, I know the fighter pilot has this ejection seat. However, I'm sitting there watching the movie and he goes to fly into Godzilla's mouth. And I was like, I thought he was dead. Because like I said, I expect the Asians to give me some melodrama and depressive ass ending. That is what I'm used to with the Koreans, with the Korean movies and TV shows. So I was expecting that. But we do find out he used the ejection seat and he did not kill himself. But I feel like maybe some people was able to really see that coming. Because like I said, we did know he had the ejection seat. But all his guilt-ridden, and the way I expected the movie to end very like just on a down note and depressive. I thought he was going to die. But something else that didn't make sense. We have a young kid that hurt his arm who didn't get to fight in the war, and being the little youngin, he want to be a part of the war and want to be a part of something. We tell him not to come. Of course, we know he gonna come, but this ain't make sense to me. He pops up with this whole fleet of ships, and somehow we are able to get stuff strung up on the ships and around Godzilla in like 5 minutes. That ain't make no sense. But we end up getting a happy ending. Godzilla is defeated. We can continue to rebuild. And one thing I love though was Godzilla is blown up, but we get to the very end of the movie and we see Godzilla corpse in the ocean, and it looked like he was starting to regenerate. And when the movie ended, before I saw this movie, I heard they was making a sequel. And I was like, well, how are we going to have another one? Godzilla dead. He regenerating. So overall, like I said, I got to be honest. I was not feeling the first like 45 minutes of the movie. But but after the first showdown with Godzilla with that fishing boat in the ocean through to the end, now that ish was hitting, okay? So I feel like, and you know what? I've been debating on if I want to change my rating scale, because I feel like y'all don't get my rating scale. I have just been using a certain rating scale since I was a kid. Like, me and my mama love to talk about movies and rate movies, and it is a rating scale of 1 through 10. 10 is a perfect movie. Like, nothing's going to be a 10. I feel like Scarface is a 10, Inception is a 10, John Carpenter's The Thing is a 10, but like nothing's perfect. That is very, very rare. I might have given 6 movies my whole life a 10. Like, nothing's going to get a 10 because nothing is perfect. But a 5 is an average movie. A 5 is not a bad score. 5 out of 10 on my rating scale is not bad. 5 is an average movie. And I personally think a good movie, most movies are an average movie. Then you get into a 6, a 7, that's an above average movie. Now, once you drop below 5, like a 4 or a 3, that's when you get into a 4 below average, obviously. 3, 2, 1, that's just a bad, terrible movie. But I give movies a 5, and y'all be like, oh, the movie wasn't bad. And a 5 does not mean the movie was bad. A 5 means, yes, the movie was good. Yes, the movie was enjoyable, but it's an average movie. Because with a rating scale, for me, I'm rating all movies amongst each other. So a 5 means you're not better than the other good movies I saw. You're an average movie. But I feel like people don't get that. Like, I did The Woman King, and I raved and raved about that movie in my review, and I gave it a 6. And somebody was like, a 6 out of 10? That's it? What's wrong with you? I'm like, that's a fucking above average. I gave it an above average score. But it is just very extremely rare. It's rare, but it does happen that I give a movie a 6, 7, 8. But I really don't give movies a 9 or a 10 because nothing is perfect. And a 10 is perfect. A 9 is damn near perfect. But I've been thinking about changing my rating scale to just a really simplified 5-star rating. I feel like that's more universal, and people will understand that a lot more. But I don't know, because I just feel like I don't want to change it. I have literally been, it's not even about YouTube. I have been using this same rating scale my entire life because this is just what I do. It's just that now I'm doing it in front of a camera, online. But I have been rating and talking about movies since I was a little kid. And I have been using this 1 through 10 rating scale. But I just feel like y'all don't understand my rating scale. So Godzilla -1 for the simplified 5-star rating scale. I would give Godzilla -1 a 4 out of 5. Now, my rating scale of a 1 through 10, I would give Godzilla a 5.5 out of 10. Slightly above average. But that first if I was only rating that last half from that 45-minute mark to the end, that would be a solid 6 out of 10. Completely above average. But great rating the whole movie as a whole. I gotta be honest, I was sitting in the theater, and the person I was in the theater with felt the same way. Like, we were sitting there like, this what everybody been raving about? Like, it was just very melodramatic. It was a lot of drama, and we were honestly bored until that very first showdown with Godzilla. But let me know in the comments, how did you feel about Godzilla Minus One? I'm pretty sure you loved it because everybody and their mama loved it. And I enjoyed it. Great movie. Very well done. Okay? Or good movie. I guess I shouldn't say great. Very well done. I enjoyed it. I would rewatch it. But honestly, if I rewatch it, well, you know what? When I first rewatch it, I would rewatch it as a whole. Because, like I said, I went in with a different expectation. So maybe I could have a different appreciation for that first part of the movie where we're getting to know the characters. And I also literally just watched a show last year and just finished it because they did a part 2 that came out in January of a Korean show that is a lot like this Godzilla Minus One. We were in post-war Korea. They had been under Japanese rule. So we're in a post-war time back in the day, like period piece like this. And it was a creature feature. It was literally just like Godzilla Minus One. It's so crazy. But I felt the same way about that. But that's what I said. But I know to expect that when I go into Korean series and stuff. Like, they're going to have character study and melodrama. And I know to expect that. So I was able to swallow it a lot better when I was watching that show. But I did go into this Godzilla movie expecting it, and I didn't know till like the last minute that I had to read it in Japanese. Like, I didn't know it was a Japanese movie. Like I said, I'm thinking about like the Matthew Broderick 90s Godzilla. I didn't know it was like a Japanese movie. But I went in expecting like an American dump down, just creature feature action, and I wasn't prepared for like an actual like story. But props to them for kudos, props to them. They did very well. I'm glad they added a heart to the movie, but I have to be honest, it wasn't very enjoyable for me. It was just too melodramatic, and if you look at all the movies I cover on my channel, I'm not a fan of stuff like that. Like, I'm not a fan of the drama genre. I mean, you could mix it in with like some thriller or some other stuff, but I can't sit there for like 45 minutes just watching people be mellow ass dramatic. But let me know in the comments, how did you feel about Godzilla Minus One? And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.